Hello, and my name is Peter Rushmer, and I'm your host today of a Half Dozen Things podcast. A Half Dozen Things is a podcast for business owners and professionals just like you. Whether you're an underdog hungry for success or you're already smashing it but want to continue to level up, we're here each week for you to get insight and learning from the very best in the business. No fluff, no BS, and no self-proclaimed gurus talking about how easy business or life is. Just real, frank, and raw conversations. Hello, I'm joined today by Lesley O'Brien OBE. Lesley has got an OBE for diversity and inclusion, and this week I did a live with her for International Women's Day. It was absolutely so insightful and really good listen, so please do enjoy it. I hope you get some really great insights from it, and do share it with your friends. Enjoy! Hello Lesley.
Good morning, afternoon, Peter. Hi.
Good morning, Lesley, or good morning, afternoon. How are you? Let me just.
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. The picture looks a bit better that way around. I think just what pulled us back in together. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Sorry, is everything well with you? Did you have a nice weekend, Lesley?
I had a lovely weekend, thank you. I've had a bit of a manic morning. I've had a few IT problems, and that's my absolute worst nightmare. So actually, I feel it's lovely to have a little calm hour with you where I can just relax and not think about IT, and hopefully this will all go to plan.
Amazing. Yeah, it will absolutely go to plan. We started just in time, so I have got a history of failing with LinkedIn where I rush too much and end up starting too late, and it can be a bit of a challenge to get back on track. But yeah, fingers crossed, everything's going fine. I've got green ticks where I need green ticks, so yeah, we're going live as we are. So yeah, absolutely, Lesley, it's an absolute honour and a pleasure to be joined by you today for this live and to talk about your half dozen things, which will be recorded as part of the session and will go on the podcast as well. So are you able to just sort of give a brief introduction of yourself to those in my audience that are listening that may not have come across you before, Lesley?
Oh gosh, this is the hardest thing. Noting myself. Okay, so I'm Lesley O'Brien. I live in the world of transport, so 40 years in this world. I'm currently a partner at Great Link Europe, which is the business with myself and my husband, fleet of vehicles. Although it sounds like we do international trade, that's my background. We actually specialise in general haulage throughout the UK. I also run transport consultancy, focusing on compliance with operator licence standards and driver CPC training. And my latest baby, as you can see, is Great People, which is a forum for people who work in the world of transport for us to come together, share our issues, share our challenges, and share best practice solutions. So we always have a talk on a hot topic, and then the opportunity for us to ask questions of the experts.
Awesome. No, and Freight People sounds fantastic. Apologies, Maggie's just come into the office. She's training today, and I've just heard the door go. So yeah, apologies for that in the background. Freight People, I absolutely love that, and I can't wait to actually get on and join one of your sessions. How often are they running at the moment, Lesley, and where can people find out about those?
Yeah, please do. So it's always the third Tuesday of every month from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock. If you just Google www.freightpeople.co.uk. So the next month is this month is the 16th of March, and we will be talking about vulnerable road users and the direct vision standard. So if you don't know about the direct vision standard, you should. Please come along. And if you don't have a vulnerable road user policy and you haven't done your risk assessment and you haven't trained your staff, then please do come along. We have some great speakers. We have Mike Colborne from Tarmac. We have Sam Weller from Transport for London. And we also have DAF Trucks talking about the future of safety on trucks. So as it's very, very laid back, very much like this, really, Pete.
Awesome.
And the aim is that it's for everybody. So it's not just business owners, it's for people on the desk, it's for drivers, so that we can have a really, really good, inclusive and diverse audience.
Leslie, I'll tell you what, it sounds absolutely incredible. I can't wait to listen in, actually. And DVS is a headache for a lot of people, but I'll tell you what, if people are running trucks and not heard of it, I hope they're not going into London, because it's going to be a bit costly. Is all I've got to say there.
£500 fine and a fine for the driver. And obviously I wear two hats, because from wearing my transport hat, you know, this is very costly for operators. And obviously it starts in London, but it will spread throughout the UK. And not only that, but we've got to contend with the low emission zones. And, you know, have we got Euro 6 vehicles, or are we going to have to pay for that? And an industry that, you know, works on very, very low margins, I think we're going to see a lot of operators just saying, well, we cannot afford to continue. So it's really hard for operators at the moment, and of course we are key workers.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, key worker status as well. Leslie, it's an absolute pleasure for you to join me, and obviously for us to record this and also put it on as part of my podcast as well, which is around a half dozen things. So one of the things, as Leslie and I prepared for today's live and the session today, was around what are those half dozen things for success for Leslie, who has had an absolutely amazing career in the transport sector. And you came across your half dozen things, which are follow your passion, having courage, the importance of allies, following your values, passion. And I'll leave the last one as a bit of a surprise for people, because it make them listen to the end.
I don't know if you remember it.
That's fine. I'll remind you as we go through, okay. Leslie. But talk to me a bit more about following your passion and why that's so important for you.
I think passion is the biggest one for me, and people always kind of, I feel like I've got to say something really, really intelligent and deep here, but throughout my life, the only way I've succeeded is through following my passion, and that's why I always say to people, especially young people who don't know what they want to do, just like I didn't. Then if you don't know what you want to do, follow your passion, because if you follow your passion, that's probably something that you're really, really good at. And if you're good at something, you normally succeed. And if you succeed and you're successful, that attracts people. And when that attracts people, they want to bring you along board, and they want you to work with them. So my passion was languages. And I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I certainly didn't think I wanted to come into the world of transport. I didn't even know what the world of transport was, but I loved languages. So that's what I studied. I did a foreign correspondence course. And when I finished that course, I still really didn't know what I wanted to do. But because I was passionate about languages and I was mixing with other people who were passionate about languages, I got a call from Viajes Cresta, Thomson Holidays, for me to go out and work in Spain. So literally the call on a Monday, Tuesday, I went for the interview, and on the Friday, I was in Spain. And when I came back for the winter, I got a job with a transport company. And again, if it hadn't have been for my love of languages and pushing myself, that when the person who worked in the French department left, I said, oh, I can do that. And then the person in the Swiss department left, and I said, I can do that. So again, I stepped forward, and I was using my languages and speaking to people in different countries. And again, it was through speaking to people in France that I got my next opportunity, which was to set up an office for a French company. So none of that was anything to do with business. It was following my passion. So if your passion is IT, your passion is physics, just follow what you're doing with enthusiasm. So you have to have some commitment. If you have passion, you naturally have enthusiasm, but passion with dedication and commitment, to me, leads to success.
100%. I think that's a fascinating story and background as well, how you ended into transport via languages. I think that's probably a very unique route into transport, but fascinating nonetheless, because it just goes to show how I think it's always the people who have got the passion and the courage that they go and solve the problems, right? Because they want to make a difference, they want to help. And then when you solve problems, that makes a real impact as well. So yeah, fascinating. And your second area, Lesley, is around courage. So obviously we talked a bit when we sort of prepared, and we've had a really nice conversation around courage and whatever. So I can't wait to hear what you've got to say. Sorry to put it on you there, but talk to me a bit more about courage and why that's so important for you.
Okay, well, I think when you have passion, just going back to passion, I think when you're passionate, no, I am moving on to courage. But I think when you're passionate about something, it brings confidence, and people think that you are confident, and that's not necessarily the case. And sometimes you have to call upon your courage to push yourself forward. So I know that I come across as a very confident person, and yes, I am a confident person now, but that wasn't always the case, and I had to call upon all of my powers to step into the arena of transport, which is a really male dominated field. So I would always have this little voice saying to me, what if they find out this? What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't do this? And it was a real challenge to overcome that little voice. But what I say to people is that I'm very fortunate, because I am schizophrenic and I have another little voice. And that other little voice, which I know you've fallen in love with now, Pete, it is my mother. And I think kind of 75% of what we become, it comes from our parents and what our parents teach us. And that little voice of my mother was, my girls will stand on their own 2 feet. Don't come to me crying if someone's hit you. You go back and you hit them harder. And the third one was, don't forget your rainy day fund. So whenever I was in a position of conflict, or time was hard and I thought I couldn't achieve, that courage came forward, and the little voice of my mother. And that there's lots of times when I've had that, when I felt, oh, I can't step forward. There are times where I remember sitting on a coach on a convention with 60 men, and I did not agree with something that was being proposed to me. And this was been the whole topic of the convention, but I didn't agree with it. It took great courage not to agree, but my mother's voice was, stand on your own 2 feet. And on that coach, I heard one of the guys in French say, if we get Lesley drunk, she'll sign this document. And it took great courage to continue. The other story I tell is disciplining a driver who had come over from France. At the time, was smuggling beer and alcohol. Now it's people. And I've been told to dismiss this driver. And so we'll go through the procedure, and then it came to appeal, and there were 2 drivers. And the first driver said to me, Lesley, please don't get rid of me. I have a young boy. I'm paying for him to go to school. I was tempted. I think he was offered £2,000. It was a lot of money for me, and it was a lot of money in those days, and I gave him his job back. The second driver pretty much told me I had to give him his job back and was quite aggressive, and I didn't, and he leant across the desk and said, "I've never wanted to hit a woman, but I'd love to hit you." And I took all my courage and leant forward and asked him to leave. In the words of Alan Sugar, "You're fired." But that's courage that you have to pull upon. And going to meetings with 50, 60 men when I was MD of Giro and running a massive empire, it can be quite daunting for a woman to be the only woman there. And that's when you call on your courage. So have passion, be courageous, don't be frightened to step forward. Being present isn't the same as participating. So have the courage to participate and stand by what you believe in and your values.
Amazing. I think if I just sort of go back to that first story about being on the coach and the Frenchmen saying if they got you drunk, you'd sign the contract. Today obviously is International Women's Day, right? And the hashtag is Choose to Challenge, right?
Yeah.
And I think would it be fair to say that historically, when things have been challenged, you'd be seen as disruptive or as sort of in a negative light, and you know, I suppose how was that for you? I know obviously you must have had a huge amount of courage, but were you worried about the ramifications or the negative impact of what you were doing? And I suppose, well, yeah, first of all, let's look at that. What did you feel at that point when you were challenging that? What was the fear like?
It's kind of this thing in your heart, because you're speaking a foreign language. So you're in a foreign country, you're speaking a foreign language, you're on a coach full of males from throughout Europe. So you've none of your support mechanism with you. You've none of your allies with you. You are pretty much alone. So what are you going to draw upon? And one of my other things is value. So you have to draw upon your values. Are you going to be untrue to your values, but heave a sigh of relief and get out of this situation? Or are you going to put on your big girl knickers and stand up and stand for what you believe in and feel proud of yourself afterwards? And that's what I did. I pretended I hadn't heard, just carried on, stood my ground. We got back to the hotel, didn't join everybody for drinks. I just thought, get me out of this situation, and just walked away. And it's very easy to say they wouldn't have done that if it was a man, but they probably would have done. They probably would have done. So let's not feel sorry for myself, because we all can be in those situations, can't we? So for men and women, when you're in that situation, have courage, stand by your guns, stand by what you believe in, take a deep breath, stand back, don't respond, don't react too quickly, because we can all react very quickly and say something in haste.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's sort of the compound challenge of the fact that also being the only woman in the situation as well. There's a disadvantage straight away, isn't there, in having the courage to be able to come up and speak forward. I think that's really important. With regards sort of talking about having the sort of voice inside your head, then I think that's fantastic, because I have a similar thing, and I try and encourage the same thing in my daughters as well, and my son as well, about doing the right thing and standing by their values. And it was something that I was fortunate enough to be sort of brought up with. But I think that there's people who haven't had the benefit of that it can also be a challenge for as well, which is why we kind of need to look out for each other as well, don't we, to an extent?
Yeah, there's absolutely. I'm a great believer in allies. I do believe that I am really, really blessed to have had a fabulous upbringing that has given me lots of courage and lots of power. I always remember I went on a course with well, I didn't know anybody at the time, but this group of women have become kind of my allies and my great friends. And this course was called Phenomenal Women, and I think it was a 3-4 day course. But within an hour of this course, I think I was the only woman that wasn't crying. Because everybody's got baggage, and I kind of thought, have I got to find my baggage? I didn't have any baggage, because I am kind of really blessed that I've had a really, really fabulous childhood with fabulous family. But I do know that I am really, really privileged. And I remember going into a local school, because I do like going into schools if I can, so we can be real role models. And I said to the school, first of all, asked me if I would speak at reception in the morning at assembly.
Oh,
and
assembly.
I really loved to speak at assembly. And they said, well, what we'll do is we'll make sure the girls aren't there. I went, what? And they said, we'll make sure the girls aren't there, so that they'll be just you with the boys. And I said, well, why is that? Because isn't it wonderful for the girls to see a role model? And particularly where this school was, it was a community where the girls weren't expected to go out, and I was pushing that they could come and they could do some apprenticeships in local haulage firms. But no, the girls wouldn't be doing that. And that was about 5 years ago. And that is hard to believe, isn't it? That at a school, we're going to have an assembly with a successful woman speaking, and they were going to exclude the girls. Wow. And we were putting forward an opportunity for the school to be part of Think Logistics, and the school didn't take it up. And that's quite a sad story, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's I've come across it as well. I think I didn't realise it was wrong at the time, but I've interviewed people for roles when I was in employed positions, and I'll never say who it was, but I was always told if it's an older lady, then all the better, because she won't be having children. And if it's a man, all the better, because they won't have the problems, for example, as well. I was told. I was only a young lad in my early 20s. I didn't really realise sort of how awful that was. But when I think back, I just think the exclusion's horrific. It's really, really bad. So the third area,
men and women applying for jobs as well, isn't it? Because don't they say that men apply for jobs 2 years too soon, and women apply for jobs 2 years too late, proportionate to their qualifications. And again, another story is for a company that I know, that they had a role, a senior role, and they particularly wanted a woman. But of course, you can't say I want a woman. So they advertised the job and they got no women applicants. Reduced the salary, and all of a sudden, women start applying for the jobs. Wow. So again, come on, girls, have a bit of courage, step forward, apply for these.
Yeah, step up, 100%. Yeah, I think that's vitally important. I think the sort of generalisations, but it's very important to know your value, isn't it? I think that's such an important thing in business.
Yeah,
all the way through.
And again, values. Where do you get your values from? These come from your childhood, from school. So ironically, it's my mother who makes me a tough cookie, but it's my father, because I am a daddy's girl, it's my father who kind of gives me my values of honest, open, work hard, integrity, and if all else fails, Leslie, buy a handbag.
Really, yeah.
Tell your girls that.
No, yeah, 100%. You're just making me reflect back on some of my dad's special ones. So, manners maketh a man. That was one of those ones.
Yeah,
which is always a good one. Yeah, man's measured by his manners. Yeah, treat others as you would like to be treated. You know, he was full of all of them, to be fair. Being brought up, I suppose he was brought up in a God-fearing family, so the values were really high up on the agenda.
Yeah.
And I think you know, he's instilled that into me. You know, there's certain things that would be frowned upon now. Things like, are you a man or a mouse? But it was that thing about, you know, I suppose the use of the word man was probably, in today's terminology, is probably not correct, but actually the ethos behind are you a man or a mouse is about that, having that courage to just stand up and be counted and for what you believe in, you know, and just sort of instilling those into me as a lad as well. So yeah, awesome. So we've kind of gone the importance of allies, and we've started to talk about values as well. So the third area was the importance of allies. Was there anything? I know you've sort of spoken a bit about that already, Lesley. Was there anything else you wanted to just cover on that?
Yeah, allyship is really, really important to me, and it's probably quite rather strange that at my most successful, when I was, you know, MD of a multinational company, you know, juggling my life between Scotland, Wales, England, Belgium, France. I didn't really, and I would be perceived to be really, really successful. I didn't really feel like I had many allies. I felt really, really alone. I wasn't being the authentic me. Since I've left that world, and in that world I had lots of support in different departments, but not in supportive people who I felt really, really close to, who I could turn to. Since I've left that world and I'm running my own business, I've kind of created allies around me who I like to think that I am also a support and allies of them. It's probably why 3 People was born. And these are the people who, we all have different people for different things. People I can turn to when I'm down, people I can turn to when I need support, people who will prop me up when I've got problems in business. And sometimes allies are the most unlikely of people. So I find that in my life, when I've changed career a little bit, if the people, most unlikely people, have stepped forward, the people who previously I thought be competitors. So when I was an MD at Giro and MJL, arch competitors were Redhead Frey, Schenkers that they are now. And when I started in my own company, they were the first people to contact me and give me business and support freight train. When I was at Gondrand, my first job, we never ever, I wasn't allowed to speak to Jenny Baker, who at the time was the only other woman I knew in transport, but I was not, don't speak to her, she's an arch enemy, because they have a service in rivaling ours. And when I left and became to set up my own business, which again was very, very scary, she was the first person to ring me and say, Lesley, can I help? And so, you know, never underestimate who will step up to help you. And I like to think now that I will be that person to other people, either setting up in their career or who've got an issue. I was rewriting our website, and I put something that I really believe in the power of vulnerability. And my husband said, oh, that's rubbish. I don't really understand what that means. And I said, what that means is it's really powerful to allow yourself to be vulnerable and to grow through that vulnerability, and it attracts people. So when at 3 People we did earned recognition, I would told my story of in 2008 being at public inquiry to 2017 being one of the first earned recognition operators in the UK. So, you know, things were really bad. And I allowed myself to say, this is what it's like when it's really, really, really bad. And, you know, especially in haulage, we're in an industry where things go wrong. Things go wrong. Pretty much.
Shit really hits the fan.
Yes, I didn't want to say that shit word, but yeah, shit happens every day. And so allowing you to be vulnerable and say, these things happen to me too. Life isn't perfect in my world. I think is really powerful. Is really powerful and allows you to be an ally to say to people, yeah, things may be bad now, but you can step forward. And I'm very fortunate to have some great allies, both in business, and I have the most fabulous friends who, if you're watching this, I know I'm neglecting you at the moment, but I love you all.
Oh, bless you, Lesley. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I've had a real challenge sort of starting the business, and I've lost contact with a lot of people because I just haven't had the time for a start. But I think one of the really interesting things that I want to echo from my experience that you've just mentioned there was around the fact that the people who you think will be your competitors or who operate in a very similar type of business to you that may look like a rivalry, actually just reach out and have a chat with them, because all of, like, we talk about referrals in business where people have passed business to you that's a really nice fit for your business. The people who operate most closely to what we do pass us the best business. It's a very stretch and the most of it as well. You know, the partnerships and like the alliances that I've created with other companies who offer compliance work and what have you. When someone's order book's full, where are they going to look? They're going to look to you. Or when something's maybe, you know, they recognize that your skill set is slightly different to theirs and that you can sort of cater to someone slightly better than they can, for example, that it comes straight to you. So I think the rivalry thing, I think it's good to have rivalry. I think that's good for the market as well. But I also think that it's good that, you know, the real rivals are the ones you need to work together with. It was really interesting. Because I think it opens up the market to you as well. We talked previously about, you know, there's sort of training providers out there who are in like a race to the bottom, for example. But I think if the training providers who want to stand head and shoulders above the others, I think if they, you know, by having that sort of marketplace where that is there, I think whilst there's rivalry, which is great, I think that's really good for the market itself, and I think that drives the value into the business as well, because everyone's on their toes a lot more. I remember really well in one of my previous podcast episodes, I interviewed a chap called Neville Wright who owned kiddie care in Peterborough and sold to Morrison's for tens of millions of pounds. And one of the things he said was that his rivals were amazing. You know, John Lewis, Mothercare, they were amazing because actually he was able to see, you know, they'd done a lot of the research, so he didn't have to. They had the glossy magazines, so he didn't have to worry about them. People knew what they were going to be buying. So as long as he was smart about his offer, he'd be able to get some business from that. And that really opened my eyes to understanding rivalry, and that you can help each other learn, I think is a really key thing, which I guess is why I love the concept of Freight People, because I think it just gives that collaborative element to what we do. And I think transport can be quite insular, can't it?
Yeah, and it's great. So when I started Freight People, which was in January last year, so we're still a baby, there were quite a few consultants who came along, and at first I was thinking, what are you doing coming on my patch? But that really wasn't a collaborative approach, and actually they've become great friends. And have been so supportive, and I've supported them. It's a little bit like, when you're having a drive out, when we can have a drive out, to go to a pub, would you go to a village where there's only one pub? You like to have a few, don't you? So there's room and there's business enough for all of those. And we all have different specialisms, don't we? We all have different specialisms, and it's great that we can share. And again, that's all what Freight People's about, sharing.
Definitely. And I think that it's definitely you share, but also by making competitors better, you improve the marketplace, and therefore it means that you can the value in the marketplace is better. And I think that just elevates the whole service along the way. I think it's really important. Awesome. Right. So fourth area is follow your values. Talk to me a bit more about your values then, Lesley, and we'll just explore those a little bit more.
Well, we've spoken about my values. It is supporting. I like to think, again, that I support my friends. I like to think I support my colleagues. I like to think I share my knowledge. I like to think that I'm open and honest. And those are the things that I strive for. So if I have to make a decision, then I try to go back to my values and write down what are my values, and is that true to my values. And I've made decisions in life that have not been to follow the money. If I'd followed the money, I wouldn't be here now. I'd be still in the international world of transport. I'd still be this high flyer on kind of big money. I am not on big money, but am I happy? And I think the values lead to more to happiness. Whereas if we are more aggressive in life and doing things that is just following the money and not following your values, it doesn't necessarily bring you happiness, does it? And I was in that world where I was in the money, and to everybody else it looked a fabulous world, but I wasn't happy. So for me, following your values, it brings you more contentment. You feel truer to yourself, and you feel happier. And in the long run, I think it does bring you success.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it absolutely does. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, amazing. Right. So don't fall in love. Talk to me about not falling in love, Lesley.
You love this one, don't you?
I do, yeah.
So the story about don't fall in love too young. So the reason that I didn't go back to Thompson Holidays was because I fell in love. So when I I studied foreign correspondence. Someone said to me when I was studying foreign correspondence, Lesley, you need to do shorthand and typing because that's what girls do. And the equivalent now is IT. If you do IT, you'll work anywhere because everybody needs IT. In those days, it was shorthand and typing. So I got my job at Gondrand in Bradford, which is still there now, as a PA to the general manager. And that's when I started going to the French department and the German department, following my passion, and fell in love. Otherwise, I would have probably gone back to Thompson Holidays. But I fell in love and followed my passion. So the advice to young girls is, because when at that age, you know, your hormones are going crazy, aren't they? And you think, oh, I'm in love, I'm going to settle down, and you could miss opportunities. So that is why I say don't fall in love too soon. But it is important to fall in love a little bit later in life. You are allowed.
I think that'll be the advice. I think that'll be the advice for my daughters for certain.
Exactly. Because my husband now is my greatest ally, my greatest supporter, and he knows my insecurities. And we have a sign by the side of the kitchen door that he's put there for me, and it says, what if I fail, but what if I fly? That's allowing the courage to come forward. And I remember when I did my first kind of talk, first ever talk, and it was for Microlife, and I was promoting She's RHA, and there was Princess Anne on the stage with me, and I was doing this big talk, and I thought, oh, that little voice, oh my goodness, what if it always all goes wrong? And I was leaving the house, and my husband said to me, Lesley, be strong, be brave, and fly. So we have this big thing about flying now and courage, which wouldn't have happened if I hadn't fallen in love again. So yes, don't fall in love too soon. Just wait, because we all change, don't we? But then do fall in love, because we all go after, don't we, work-life balance. And for me, work-life balance is having that great family, having those great friends. So yes, I'd like to go out more to restaurants. I'd like to have more fabulous holidays. But the most important thing is family and friends. I'm a great believer. I liken myself to an ever-ready battery, and I have to keep recharging my batteries, because they will wear out. They will wear out, and it's when they wear out that we need to call on this family and friends. And like in business, shit happens in your family life, and if things are bad in business, you really rely on your family and friends to pull you through. And if things are bad in your home life, then sometimes it's great to go to the office and have a bit of relief, isn't it? So family, friends are that work-life balance for me. It's not necessarily all those fabulous holidays, but I would like one eventually.
You and me both, Lesley. I'll tell you what.
When the camper van comes.
Yeah, I must say that when you're talking about flying, I know it was very sort of deep and meaningful. But I all started to think about, I can't wait till I can fly again, and go on holiday and what have you. I think that'll be I just can't wait, to be fair. Okay, so sort of as a sort of final point then, Lesley, we're both very passionate about the transport sector and about improving standards. If a young person was listening to this, particularly, we've got Kickstart coming out now as well, haven't we? So we're going to have potentially a rush of people. Hopefully lots of transport operators have signed up to Kickstart, so they can start to sort of welcome in younger people into the business. And when I say this, I mean young lads and young women as well. What would your advice be to them, and why would you say the transport sector is such a great industry for them to come into?
They need to be like a sponge. They need to soak it all in, because this wonderful industry has so much to offer. I don't know if she's watching this, but Louise in my transport office started off with me a youth opportunity, I think 30 years ago, right, on £20 per week. And she was just doing the filing. And then she moved on and she was on the transport desk. Then she moved on, she was doing insurance. Then she's done health and safety. Then she's done planning. Then she's done accounts. There is so much to do. You can be in the warehouse. You can be looking after IT. There's telematics. It is such a massive industry. So don't think, oh, this isn't for me. Just be like a radar, because there are so many jobs. You're dealing with so many interesting people. So one day I may be speaking to Sam Smith in the warehouse, who organises the transport. The next day I could be speaking to Diageo. You're speaking to so many people. I'll just tell you another little story. When I first started out and I'd set up MJL, I'd been headhunted to set up MJL, and there was little old me trying to build up this business. And I visited a company in Dewsbury, and the guy there was running the transport, and he had a flat cap on and he had a pipe, because you could smoke those days. Anyway, hey lass, shouldn't you be at home cooking your husband's dinner? And it was the first customer I'd ever really been to see. And I remember saying to him, well, you clearly haven't tasted my cooking. I digress. It just came to mind, that little story. So yeah, but don't think, oh, this isn't for me. Just really that there are so many opportunities, and whatever department you go in or whatever you do, throw everything at it. Throw all your passion at it. That's, as I've said, that is what attracts people. And if that's the department you like, you will grow. There are so many opportunities working in the UK, working abroad. This is an industry that is a worldwide industry. It's not something that you're just going to be in Nottingham, Leicester, Yorkshire, wherever. The world is your oyster. Remember that.
I love that. Yeah, the world is your oyster, and that's great. And I was going to say that's applicable to young people and particularly women coming into the sector as well. Because stand up and have the courage and apply for that job as well. Apply for that job that's out of your price range as well, right? Or what you perceive to be the price range as well. Lesley, It's been absolutely amazing having you on.
Thank you, sir.
It's been fantastic. I hope everyone's enjoyed listening. Lesley, how do people find out a bit more about you? I know at the top of the program, we might have had people join us who sort of didn't hear you introduce yourself originally. So please just reiterate for people sort of who you are and where you're from, and particularly about Freight People, where they can come and find you.
If you would like to join my Freight People forum, then please go on the website www.freightpeople.co.uk. You can search on Eventbrite, Freight People March, Freight People April. You can come to the first forum for free, and thereafter it's just £10. There's always a talk on a hot topic. There is always an update from NAVSIS, which is the National Vehicle Crime Intelligence Services. So they talk to us about where are the crime hotspots, what are the types of crime we need to watch out for. There is always an update from DAC Beechcroft, my legal sponsors, about legislative changes, and I have some other fabulous sponsors who are always on there, available to answer questions. So I have Claire Howard from Novus & Co Chartered Accountants. I have Chris Leverett from Asset Finance. I have Motors Commercials, the largest DAF dealership. I have Concilia Legal talking about human resources. I have DTech, the drugs and alcohol specialists. I have Road Skills Online, which is another partner of mine, which is online learning for drivers. We all know how difficult it is getting our drivers together to talk to them. These are bite-sized toolbox talks, and you have your chance to to have your say. So you can be as quiet as you like. You can sit there and just be a wallflower. Ladies, don't be a wallflower. Or you can put things in the chat box and we'll ask questions. It's not a webinar where we're just watching. You can be as involved or not involved as you like. I always send out top tips afterwards. So the aim is that everybody goes away with top tips that you can put into your business or personal life. So it's my latest baby. Obviously, if you've got transport, you can contact Freightlink Europe, www.freightlinkeurope.co.uk. And if you'd like me to come along and do a compliance audit or you want some training, it's www.freighttrain.co.uk. Or if you'd just like to send me a message, it's Lesley@freightlinkeurope.co.uk. But I'd love to see you at Freight People. Does that cover it? I don't like selling myself. I find it very difficult.
Oh, don't worry. I think you did it. You did a grand job.
I think I said, shall I just interview you?
I think, well, I'll be well up for that. Awesome, Lesley. I think that's everything. So my final thoughts are: this is on our live, so do follow us on LinkedIn, Peter Rushmer or Lesley O'Brien on LinkedIn, and then also it's going to go on my podcast, which is a half dozen things. So please do listen in. If you're listening on a half dozen things, please do share it with your friends. Hopefully you got value from it. Lesley's absolutely awesome and shared some wonderful stories from her time in transport. So thank you so much for that, Lesley. And I hope everyone's got value from it. And take care and catch you all soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate your time. Please do follow me at Pete Rushmer on LinkedIn or on Facebook. Follow Flagship Training UK, and you can find us on YouTube too at Flagship UK.